We're going to continue working on this Prevost here. If you haven't watched the first two videos on it, I'll put the links in the description. You should probably watch them first because we found some pretty nasty stuff on here, especially this one brake caliper and assembly that was really, really bad on the tag axle. But we're going to continue on it here. We're going to start with the tie rod stuff. All right, Harbor Freight did replace all those tools that we broke. So they gave us a new 92th half-inch drive flex head ratchet that we had snapped the case on it. And that one socket that we broke, the 21 millimeter one. And then we went ahead, they replaced the 25-inch breaker bar, half-inch drive as well, that we had snapped off. Actually, that end did come off the old one, but we exchanged that. And then I bought some metric impact sockets because I'd never had those, because every bus we work on is only SAE stuff. So this Prevost, coming out of Canada and being newer, it has all metric stuff on it. So I didn't have any metric impact sockets at all in my collection. So we've got the Pittsburgh ones, but they're lifetime warranted, so can't go wrong with that. And then the big wheel nut socket that we broke, they're sending me a new one of those. So we'll have it here in a couple of days. But this is a really nice ratchet. I was impressed that the teeth didn't break on it. And then, kudos to Harbor Freight. They definitely are like Sears in the old day. How easy it was to replace tools at Sears, how it used to be. It's not necessarily that way anymore. But yeah, Sears, you could just go there and they had it in stock and just swap it all out and good to go. So they definitely stand behind their stuff, and that's why we buy quite a lot from there. Yeah, anytime we're bringing this out, it usually means that we mean business. We do charge a $50 fee anytime we got to bring the torch out, just because to help us pay for the gas and everything, and we got to drive. If we got to refill the tanks, we got to take them and exchange them, and it's a 2-hour drive to do that. So $50 if we got to break it out, and that seems to cover our fees for how many times we get to use it before we run out of either oxygen or acetylene on it. That's probably good there. Let's give it a try. this way with it.
Smaller ones.
Is it hitting the back already?
No, I'm saying it's spread out now.
Oh, you need a skinnier one? Yeah, that one's stuck. So we're gonna try the other air hammer with the pickle fork. Try the other pickle fork back. You don't have the nut on like tight, right? You just barely have it on there?
Yeah.
Okay. This other gun's a little more powerful. Nice. Well, if that wasn't proof that the Chief is better than the Snap-on. I just had this one rebuilt too. That side was easier. Well, here's what that crazy tie rod looks like with those offset ends on it. That's a very unusual shape on there. But yeah, we had to change this all out because this is obsolete on here, and they have a new one, new style. We have to swap the whole thing out with.
No.
Just broken apart.
Yeah, like the threads on the end of it are chewed.
So it just fell apart when you
At one time.
took the end off. It just fell apart.
It's been off for a minute. Since
It's
the
bent.
whole thing's bent.
Spin it so I can see the angle of how it's bent. Like the whole casing. There you go. Yeah, it's not centered. I mean, it looked weird on the bus and it clanked around weird.
Yeah.
Not how they're supposed to come off. Okay. The new tie rod assembly is on. It looks real good. These are non-greasable, so they're sealed units, so that's never going to be able to be greased, or you could add a fitting to it, or I've seen them do that, but it's supposed to be non-serviceable. We still have to do the fine-tuning adjustment on it. We measured it with a tape measure. It's exactly the same length as the one we took off. Our alignment tool, we can't do an alignment on it because we're still going to be replacing a few other parts here, but we can't do an alignment unless the wheels are on it. I don't want to put the wheels on and take them off. The way our tool mounts on here, we need something to go all the way back to, and it doesn't reach back to here, so we couldn't be very precise with it unless we have the wheels on it. So once we get the rims on it, and then we'll get the alignment done on it, but we're still replacing that drag link that's bad. That's what started everything on this mess. It'll handle real good. We have our new drive shaft and U-joints here to replace the bad ones that are in there. We're calling that Mr. Clunky on there. It was a very clunky drive shaft. The slip yoke is all worn out on it because it's never been greased, and just turning it back and forth, it goes clunk, 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 clunk. And the U-joints haven't been greased in forever either, so we'll put new U-joints in it. That actually wasn't too bad. Price-wise, I was shocked. We had one built for $4,104 that was smaller than that, was like $1,200. This was less money than that, so that's pretty surprising. We're gonna put that on in the pit. It'll be much easier in the pit than on our back trying to bench press it. It's very heavy. Well, if you remember how bad that disc brake was that was on there, I said it's lucky it didn't have a fire. I guess there was a group of like 3 guys that bought buses from this particular bus company. They didn't maintain them very well. I think it was out of Salt Lake City. And one of the guy's buses burned to the ground on his way home from buying it. And then this one and another one just needed tons of maintenance work. They realized that that company didn't do very good maintenance on their buses. So it's, yeah, for one of them, I said surprised, I can't believe it didn't catch on fire. And then to find out that one of them in the group of the 3 guys burned down to the ground on its way home from buying it. That goes to show you that very well could have happened to this bus. This whole caliper is getting replaced. These were all seized up on there. The boots were gone and missing and just rusted up. But this has been replaced at least one other time in the bus's life, because this has the anti-lock brake module thing on it here, sensor, and that wasn't available in 1997 on this bus. So this has been changed. So I don't know what they did. They just swapped everything over, and that's probably when that rotor looked so bad, and then they had a bad caliper, and they swapped a different caliper to it, but put new brake shoes on it, but didn't change the rotor, is my guess. To go through all that work and not put a new rotor on it's crazy. Somebody had asked a question about how the suspension on this bus works. This is a rear cradle here that the axle sits on. You can see it goes all the way from there to there. There's one airbag here on the lower part of it, but then the beam comes up and across, and then the airbag's up here. So where the body is lifted on it, but it's got one in front and one in back on each side. And then there's 2 shocks on each side. There's one here, and then there's one squeezed in there. And then it's got some lateral locks on there, and then the radius rods, the traditional type radius rods around there, so it keeps the axle square. But it's probably a little overcomplicated to some of the other buses, but removing it would suck because it's so much larger than a lot of them. But maybe it gives a softer ride than some. I don't know, but it's still a rolling lobe, a dual rolling lobe axle. So, and then the tag axle has just got a big it's a solid axle, but it's arched. So it comes way up and way over. So almost like a big half circle. Okay, we got that oil leak fixed on there. Got the alternator all back on. Everything's mounted back up together. It should be good to go without that. We still got to replace the oil pan gasket. So we've ordered that from Diesel Pro Power. That'll be here on Monday. And we're going to do that on the pit as well. It'll be very easy to do it. Oil change and the transmission stuff we're going to work on in the pit too. Very concerned about the transmission, but we'll see. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with those bolts and we can fix whatever the leak is that's on there. But when they just smear Permatex all over something, that's never a good sign. And that transmission is about $14,000 to replace if there's something wrong with it. They do sell a kit that Brandon has, the tool at Brandon at Cardinal Coach in Warsaw, North Carolina. That it's a jig that mounts on there, and you can re-drill and then you press in some sleeves, and you can redo for the strip out on that transmission if those bolts are stripped out, which we suspect that might be what the problem is. But if that fails, that's a lot of precision drilling and stuff, and otherwise we're putting in a new transmission, and again it's about 13 grand just for the transmission, and then another probably 4 or 5 grand for labor, somewhere around there. Definitely not cheap. Everything's starting to add up for sure. But that's where we're at for the weekend on this. So Monday we'll get right back in on it. One of our Patreon members, Sam, sent us another gallon of Croyle. He knows we've been struggling with a lot of stuff lately, so that definitely helps us out here at the shop. If you haven't looked at our Patreon, I'll put a link in the description for it. Something to think about joining. We have a lot of daily. We post usually multiple video clips and behind the scenes photos, and you get to know what's going on, everything here at the shop. So check it out.